2022 brings us the latest chapter of the classic 90s Beavis and Butthead franchise with the new movie now on Paramount Plus, Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe. I just got done watching it right now, and I'm going to give you a review for the film, and I'm going to try to avoid spoilers because the movie does have some pretty fun surprises, but I'll give you the rundown of what this was all about. First of all, I grew up in the 90s a massive Beavis and Butthead fan. There was a show on MTV called Liquid Television that would have these like abstract animation things, like early CGI, you know, different types of animation styles and skits. And Beavis and Butthead started there, and then I started watching their show. Beavis and Butthead was the definition of what the 90s were about when it comes to this type of stuff. Really dirty humor, you know, controversial potty humor, at least at the time it was controversial. You know, the youth of America being into like rock music and rap music, and you know, really in many ways Beavis and Butthead was a reflection of society. Like it really was when you look at it beneath the surface. Mike Judge, of course, is the creator, the same guy who created King of the Hill and the spinoff Daria, who were also very successful shows. But I think Beavis and Butthead was still his magnum opus, and I prefer it. I know a lot of folks love King of the Hill, but this was my favorite. So Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe picks up right after, or at least at some point after, the end of the original animated series back in 1997-98 and Beavis and Butthead Do America, because the film begins in 1998. And what ends up happening is they're at a science fair and things go awry. So because of that, Beavis and Butthead were sent over to a space camp, and they wind up being two of the first teenagers at their age to be in space with NASA. And then things happen that are unexpected, and we end up, well, I don't want to spoil it, but Beavis and Butthead end up in a very different place than where they were at. Now, this movie, and again, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it definitely is a soft reboot, because after this movie ended, I was thinking, okay, they can make more episodes now, because they literally pick up, like the film, the ending of this film sets the blueprint or the foundation for them to make more episodes. But I don't want to spoil it for you. So the movie was very, very funny. And it's not just the classic Beavis and Butthead humor that's all there, but also, you know, it does have some fish out of water elements, only played up to be dumb. And what I think has always been interesting about Beavis and Butthead, especially with this film, is how smart it is. I find it interesting that a film about essentially two dumbass teenagers wound up being so intelligently written. And what I mean by that is, like I said, it's not just toilet humor and classic 90s Beavis and Butthead type of stuff. You know, they're trying to score, and, you know, they're too dumb to realize what's really going on, you know, that kind of stuff. No, this has really clever humor, and it sort of shows what happens if you take a property from the 90s and bring it into 2022. There are jokes here about feminism and white supremacy and, you know, white privilege, that is, and how it's become such a topic on the internet. There are jokes here about that. There are jokes here about technological advancements like the iPhone and things of that nature. Like, it has that really clever humor. And also the film borrows from other movies that have classic duos that go through crazy adventures. For example, there are aspects of the film that borrow heavily from Harold and Kumar, specifically Harold and Kumar 2, which is the one where they go to Guantanamo Bay. There are scenes in this movie and characters that are borrowed directly from that, or at least there's an homage to it. There's a character in this film, a main character actually, who is literally, not only does she resemble Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States, but there are so many jokes, like, at her expense that people have made about Kamala Harris. So if you're one of those people that love to see politicians get satired and clowned, you'll get it here. The character is not actually Kamala Harris, but it looks like her, and there are references to things that Kamala Harris has done in her political career in California that get played up here for laughs. But like I was saying, it borrows from Harold and Kumar, but also there's a lot of Dumb and Dumber in this movie. I've always felt like Beavis and Butthead and Dumb and Dumber had similarities, but there are aspects of this film that literally are borrowed or at least inspired by Dumb and Dumber, but also the film does feel like a legitimate sequel to Beavis and Butthead Do America in the sense that the plot thread, Beavis and Butthead are being hunted down by the government at one point in this film, so it very much resembles that plot of Beavis and Butthead Do America, but it's sort of blown up and takes a different direction. It's not just copying the same film. They don't literally travel across the country in this one, but they travel across something else, which I'm not going to spoil. It's honestly best to go into this movie not knowing or knowing as little as you know, because the movie will catch you off guard, especially with how smart the humor is. Again, I put that over because I was expecting it to be more of a nostalgia trip, and it was, but it also had really clever jokes. Like Mike Judge, I feel like is an underrated comedian when it comes to being a clever guy. Like he's really clever, and it really has a lot of satire on society right now. And I do not like Rotten Tomatoes. I've ranted about them before. They're trash. It's garbage. It's got 96% reviews, and that is a pretty damn good percentage for a Beavis and Butthead movie. You know what I mean? It's difficult because I'm not sure if I enjoyed this more than Do America. And I saw Do America in theaters, by the way, when I was a kid. But it definitely did some things better. Like, the satire of society was better done. There were some 3D elements here, but it's mostly a 2D animated film. Like, they used a lot of the similar techniques that were used in Dragon Ball Superhero. And I like that because they were mixing 3D and 2D relatively well. But the only thing that was missing from this film, in my opinion, is that while it did have certain characters appear, like David Van Driesen, their teacher, who's an iconic character, it didn't have everyone. There are cameos from people like Todd. I'm not going to spoil that, but I was expecting more from the side characters, because what made Beavis and Butthead awesome is the same thing that made The Simpsons awesome back in the 90s, which is that whole cast. It wasn't just Beavis and Butthead. It was Stewart. It was Todd, it was Daria, it was all the characters that would be used intelligently. So if you're a Beavis and Butthead fan like I am, who watched this show in the 90s, you owe it to yourself to see this film. So I recommend it. Big thumbs up from me. I'm not gonna BS you guys. The film definitely pokes fun at the agendas a lot, but a lot of it is really an adventure story, and it's really funny where Beavis and Butthead end up. There's a lot of Harold and Kumar in this film. If you like Harold and Kumar and stuff like that, two idiots, dealing with a problem that is way more serious than even they realize, you'll love this movie, dude. Credit to Mike Judge. He wrote the story. He played Beavis and Butthead once again, and he didn't direct the film. Right, John Rice and Albert Caleros directed it, but he was definitely, there's no question that he was involved big time in these stories, because he's the creator of all this. So that's my review. I may do a spoiler review. I'm not sure if I will yet, but check out Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe right now on Paramount Plus. Have a great one.